So on with segment 6D, and back to structure E total for a second. Recall that it is itself intrinsically relational, as opposed to what occurs with merely accidental relations, where the terms accidentally pre-exist the relation itself. So let's say the rain falls on the grass. Whereas structure E generates, as it were, its own terms. That's the characteristic of what we've called a tetrastructure. Thus, structure E total is critically subsisting, owing to its inner dynamics resting on its functional wholeness. However, ontologically, it is entirely dependent upon the transcendent act that brings it into existence and conserves it in being. Clearly then, it is not self-subsistent, though it is subsisting. Its triune source alone is self-subsistent. But we can show how the tetrastructure of creation, that is, structure E total, bears the intrinsic signature of its divine source, the name of whom is revealed in sacred scripture as a thrice holy name. YHWH 𝚯. Or if you read in Hebrew from right to left, YHWH. A thrice holy name coming in the form of 4 consonants. And we will dive into that in a later segment. So in moving from the tetrastructural nature of created existence back to its Trinitarian source, reason, enlightened by revelation, can indeed recognize the signature of YHWH, the thrice holy God, in structure E. That's what we claim. In so doing, we can also understand why we move from a created subsisting tetrastructure to the self-subsistent triune source of created existence. For in God, there are indeed 4 divine relations, and that's what I have written here on the board. Fatherhood, denoted here capital R sub 1. Sonship, denoted here capital R sub 2. Active spiration, denoted here capital R sub 0. And passive spiration, denoted here capital R sub 3. Which you'll notice I've matched here with the 4 consonants of the thrice holy name. Y sub 1, W sub 2, H sub 0, and H sub 3. So, 4 divine relations, but of which only 3 stand in mutual opposition and are accordingly really distinct from one another, namely R sub 1, fatherhood, R sub 2, sonship, and R sub 3, passive spiration. Active spiration, R sub 0, stands in exclusive opposition to passive spiration, R sub 3, and thus stands in no opposition to fatherhood, R sub 1, and sonship, R sub 2, being identical to them. And that's key to understand. So to recap, according to sound Trinitarian doctrine, which I have summarized down here, there are in God 2 relations of origin, R sub 1 alone, and R sub 1 and R sub 2 combined, which themselves imply 2 relations of processions, R sub 2 as well as R sub 3. Hence, R sub 0 is simply identical to R sub 1 and R sub 2 combined. And there lies the equation in the One Godhead of 3 and 4, and we are going to explain this aspect further in the next segment.